Hey there, Marvel comic fans, are you ready to venture into the world of a villain so diabolical that he makes Loki look like a cuddly kitten? Well, strap on your pumpkin bombs and get ready to cackle like a madman, because we're about to explore the twisted mind of the Hobgoblin. This guy has got more tricks up his sleeve than a magician, and we're here to uncover every last one of them. Grab some popcorn, put on your maniacal laugh, and let's get ready to rumble with the Hobgoblin. Get ready for a ride that is sure to be more twisted than a pretzel on a roller coaster. Let's go. But just before we dive into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. It's just a little click for you, but for us it means a lot. Thank you very much. Let's begin.
I've gotten hit hard. I'm seeing double.
Hobgoblin's origins explored. Let us meet Roderick Kingsley, the fashion designer who is more cutthroat than his own runway models. This guy has a reputation for using some shady methods to achieve success, and it's earned him some serious enemies in the process. Belladonna, for example, is a woman whose company he ruined by dragging their name through the mud. Yikes, talk about burning bridges. But Kingsley's questionable connections do not just stop there. He also has ties to some pretty unsavory criminal associates like George Hill. When George Hill came across an abandoned secret base of the original Green Goblin, Norman Osborn, he knew he had some valuable information on his hands. So being the savvy businessman he was, Hill passed the intel on to Kingsley. Unfortunately for Hill, Kingsley was not exactly the most grateful guy around. He killed Hill to ensure the secret stayed safe. But Kingsley's thirst for power didn't stop there. He found some of Osborn's journals among the different equipment of Green Goblin and decided to take on the mantle of the Hobgoblin, and boy did he do it with style. He made alterations to the Goblin costume and made improvements to the Goblin equipment, making him one of Spider-Man's most formidable foes. Of course, Spidey was not going to let Kingsley get away with all this villainy without a fight. In fact, they had some pretty epic battles that left the Hobgoblin barely escaping with his life. But Kingsley was determined to up his game, so he made an attempt to recreate Osborn's formula to achieve superhuman strength without going insane like Osborn did. He tested the formula by doing some experiments on a henchman, Lefty Donovan, and watched as he attacked Spider-Man as the Hobgoblin. But things took a dark turn when Kingsley murdered Lefty to avoid being implicated in his crimes. And talk about a major cover-up, Kingsley even went as far as to fake his own death by letting others take the fall for his crimes. It's no wonder that Spider-Man was the only one who knew the original Hobgoblin was still alive. Marvelous story arcs of Roderick Kingsley, aka Hobgoblin, threatening the Century Club. It seems that Kingsley's villainy knows no bounds. After terrorizing Spider-Man, he turned his attention to some of the most prominent members of the Century Club, which includes J. Jonah Jameson and Harry Osborn, in a blackmail scheme. However, as with all secrets, Kingsley's actions eventually caught up with him in a dramatic showdown with Spider-Man. It was an epic battle that had fans on the edge of their seats, but in the end, the Hobgoblin managed to slip away, leaving only his modified battle van sinking to the bottom of the Hudson River. But the story wasn't over yet. As if to mock his arch nemesis, the only evidence of Hobgoblin's escape was his mask floating in the water. Hobgoblin's new identity. Roderick Kingsley could not resist the allure of playing puppet master and found the perfect pawn in reporter Ned Leeds. Upon learning that Leeds had uncovered his identity, Kingsley brainwashed him with chemicals and turned him into his loyal puppet. With Leeds under his control, Kingsley had him attend meetings with other criminal bosses, while Kingsley himself remained hidden in the shadows. But Kingsley was not satisfied with just controlling Leeds. No, he went a step further and planted false information to frame Flash Thompson as the Hobgoblin. This move sparked a rivalry between the Hobgoblin and another criminal, Jack-o'-lantern. Things became even more complicated when Macandale, believing that Leeds was the true Hobgoblin, hired the assassin, the Foreigner, to eliminate him during a mission in Paris. The Kingpin, however, informed Spider-Man of Leeds' death, leaving the web-slinger devastated to learn that one of his Daily Bugle colleagues was one of his greatest enemies all along. Kingsley, meanwhile, decided to retire and revel in the glory of having everyone believe that the Hobgoblin was dead. However, Macandale was not ready to relinquish the Hobgoblin's mantle just yet. He took on the persona himself, only to be repeatedly defeated by Spider-Man. In a bid for more power, Macandale turned to the demon Nastir during the Inferno crisis, but he only received a demon placed inside of him as a cruel joke. This demon later split from Macandale and became known as the Demogoblin. Despite this setback, Macandale continued his pursuit of power with failed attempts to use Craven Hunter's strength-enhancing formula and cybernetic implants. In a shocking turn of events, Macandale revealed during his trial that the real Hobgoblin was none other than Ned Leeds. Kingsley makes another appearance. Just when we thought Kingsley was out of the game for good, he came back with a vengeance. Not content with letting Macandale tarnish his name, Kingsley decided to take matters into his own hands and brutally melted Macandale in his cell, reducing him to nothing but a skeleton, who was the wife of the now dead Ned Leeds, who is said to have evidence in her possession that cleared Ned Leeds' name. But this was an attempt to draw out the true Hobgoblin, and it worked like a charm. Betty had a spider tracer, courtesy of our friendly neighbourhood superhero, that led Spider-Man to the both of them. The battle that ensued finally revealed Kingsley as the one and only Hobgoblin. But the surprises didn't stop there. The fact that Kingsley had an identical twin brother, Daniel, who impersonated him as an alibi for his Hobgoblin activities, was also revealed. Talk about a double life. When Norman Osborn was resurrected from the dead, Kingsley was not exactly thrilled with his refusal to have anything to do with the Green Goblin. So using his cunning mind, Kingsley claimed to have a pretty old journal of Osborn's that had proof that he was the Green Goblin. Osborn fell for the bait and freed Kingsley from jail with the help of his Green Goblin, who was genetically created. But things didn't go exactly as planned for Kingsley. Osborn revealed that he knew there was no journal and used his vast resources to purchase the empire of Kingsley. Furious, but not defeated, Kingsley had stashed away a huge amount of money in overseas accounts. A massive conflict erupted involving Kingsley, Osborn, Spider-Man, and the genetically engineered Green Goblin. However, at the conclusion of the battle, Kingsley made the decision to retire once more, and this time he chose to do so in the beautiful and sunny Caribbean. Kingsley comes out of retirement again? It seems that Kingsley just can't resist getting back into the game. After suspecting that his brother Daniel had assumed the Hobgoblin persona and was working for Kingpin, he was shocked to learn that his brother had turned up dead, and a new Hobgoblin had taken up the mantle. But Kingsley was not content on the sidelines. He coerced the new Hobgoblin, Phil Urich, into giving him a portion of his ill-gotten gains from his criminal activities, and that was just the beginning of Kingsley's latest scheme. He began selling old supervillain identities to eager criminals and outfitting them with the new gear in exchange for a sizable cut of their profits from the crime sprees. This new scheme allowed Kingsley to keep himself hidden from unwanted attention while also lining his pockets with cash. However, as we all know, all good things must come to an end. Eventually, Phil Urich was taken down by the superior Spider-Man and became the Goblin Knight after being taken under the wing of the Green Goblin. Oh, and who stepped up to take Ulrich's place as the current Hobgoblin? None other than Roderick Kingsley himself. Retirement seems to be out of the question for this shrewd and ruthless villain. Kingsley's inversion. It is impressive how Kingsley can adapt to any circumstance and make the most of it. After being compelled to rescue the Avengers from Red Onslaught and being affected by the inversion spell, his moral compass was reversed, turning him into a businessman still driven by greed but with a newfound desire to assist people. He revived his franchise, leasing out the identities and costumes of deceased or retired superheroes to ordinary folks, promoting his business by publishing a comic book and implementing a 3-phase program. Kingsley's publicity disclosed his identity, which would have been impossible before the inversion, and even had his recruits undertake heroic acts as the Hobgoblin to promote his brand. He became a force to be reckoned with, even defeating the new Goblin King, Phil Urich, and impressing Captain America with his acts of goodness for the community. But unfortunately, the second inversion spell reversed Kingsley's turn towards goodness, and he resumed his nefarious plans. He even feuded with the Spider-Woman that was pregnant and the Porcupine Name's successor, who had turned over a new leaf. However, he was stopped by Captain Marvel in the end. Kingsley gets allies. Looks like Kingsley just couldn't resist the allure of a big payday. He joined the new Sinister Six group led by Aaron Davis, the Ultimate Universe Prowler, which included Hobgoblin, Bombshell, Electro, Sandman, and Spot. Their plan? To steal a helicarrier and sell it to Latverian sources for a massive profit. With his intelligence, Kingsley realized that the heist was bound to go awry and attempted to betray the rest of the squad by leaking information to the helicarrier guard, Robert Maverick, about their plans. However, his efforts were in vain, as a new Spider-Man accidentally intervened and prevented Maverick from taking down the group. As it turns out, Kingsley's initial assumption was correct, as the group failed to sell the helicarrier upon reaching Latveria. And to add insult to injury, Kingsley was given a reward for his betrayal by being knocked out by an enraged Sandman and thrown off the helicarrier mid-flight.
Citizens should support. Furthermore,
Hobgoblin's appearances in Spider-Man, the animated series. Jason Macendale's early life was that of a small-time criminal, but he later took on the persona of the Hobgoblin and quickly became a formidable enemy for both Spider-Man and Kingpin. He was constantly trying to take over the criminal underworld and become the top dog. At first, Macendale did not believe the stories he had heard about the infamous Kingpin of crime, but he eventually became a successful thief and amassed a fortune from his criminal activities. Later, he crossed paths with Norman Osborn, who provided him with advanced weapons created at Oscorp. This fueled Macendale's ambition, and he eventually attempted to assassinate the Kingpin, which did not go as planned. After failing to take out Kingpin, Macendale began working for him, but eventually betrayed him and became the new Kingpin himself. However, his reign was short-lived, and he was eventually defeated by Spider-Man and Daredevil. Macendale also blackmailed Herbert Landon and had a life outside of the Hobgoblin costume. He later obtained a time dilation accelerator, which he used to go on crime sprees and form an uneasy alliance with Spider-Man. However, he was eventually captured and his identity as the Hobgoblin was revealed. Hobgoblin in Ultimate Marvel storyline. Harry Osborn had a troubled upbringing as the neglected son of industrialist Norman Osborn and his alcoholic mother. He eventually became friends with Peter Parker and had a brief romantic relationship with Peter's future girlfriend, Mary Jane Watson. Harry's life took a dark turn when his father became the Green Goblin and attacked his family, killing his mother and almost killing Harry. He was sent to live with his uncle, but was later brainwashed into believing his mother had died in a freak accident so that his father could control him better. During a fight between the Green Goblin and Spider-Man, Harry stabbed his own father in the back, reverting him back to his human form. He was later traumatized by his father's death at the hands of soldiers and vengefully promised to kill everyone. Through hypnotic therapy, Norman Osborn planted a post-hypnotic suggestion in Harry, which caused him to transform into the ultimate version of the Hobgoblin and attack Spider-Man. Harry was shot down by S.H.I.E.L.D. but was later revealed to be alive. Harry reappeared in the wake of his father's escape and publicly denounced him as a cruel, vicious monster and murderer, which enraged Norman and led to a brutal fight between the two. Harry changed into the Hobgoblin to protect himself and S.H.I.E.L.D. operatives, but was beaten to death by his own father. Norman asked S.H.I.E.L.D. soldiers to kill him, which they did, after realizing what it was he had did. Other characters who also became Hobgoblin. There have been several characters who have taken on the mantle of Hobgoblin in the Spider-Man comic book series. Jason Macendale Jr., who was a hired gun who received training from the Central Intelligence Agency and other military organizations, made his first appearance as Jack-O-Lantern, the supervillain, before taking the mantle of the Hobgoblin. Daniel Kingsley, the twin brother of Roderick Kingsley, was often a substitute for his brother to provide an alibi for his Hobgoblin activities till he was unmasked by Betty Brant, and later came back and assumed the identity of the Hobgoblin. Philip Urick, who had previously used the identity of Green Goblin for his brief superhero stint, took the identity of Hobgoblin with new gear. Norman Osborn took the mantle of the Hobgoblin for a short period of time, and Claude, Roderick's butler, pretended to be him to divert the attention of the Goblin Nation before being killed at the hands of the Goblin Knight. The Hobgoblin identity has been passed down through several characters, each with their own motivations and actions. Alternate versions of Hobgoblin. The Hobgoblin character has been featured in many different comic book storylines. For example, in JLA, Avengers, the Hobgoblin is one of the villains defending Krona's stronghold and gets taken down by Hawkgirl. In another storyline, an unknown criminal finds a stash of Green Goblin's gear and tries to take on Spider-Man, but he gets defeated. In the MC2 continuity, the Hobgoblin is a hired gun who tries to kill several Spider-Girl characters and then starts a gang war against the Black Tarantula. But he gets taken out by Mayhem, who is like Spider-Girl's half-symbiote clone. In another storyline called Spider-Verse, an alternate version of Peter Parker becomes the Goblin after getting super angry over Gwen Stacy's death. He later sacrifices himself in an effort to rescue a different version of Gwen. In a different universe, there is a version of Hobgoblin who is part of a group called Verna's Hounds, and he's defeated by Assassin Spider-Man, Spider-Punk, and Superior Spider-Man. In yet another universe, Green Goblin utilizes a bunch of androids based on Hobgoblin to help him fight Spider-Woman. And in the Amazing Spider-Man newspaper comic strip, Harry Osborn takes on the Hobgoblin persona to get back at Spider-Man for his dad's death, but then realizes he was wrong and swears off the Hobgoblin identity for good. Hobgoblin 2211. Hobgoblin 2211 is a character that initially donned a purple and green costume and claimed to be the Hobgoblin of 2211. However, her real identity is later revealed in Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man as Robin Hobbyborn, who happens to be Spider-Man's daughter. Robin had always felt neglected by her father, who prioritized his career as a superhero over his own child. She aimed to prevent the merging and overriding of universes, which would cause catastrophic consequences. Consequently, she was arrested by Spider-Man for time traveling without authorization and confined to a prison that was in a virtual reality. Robin's boyfriend tried to bust her out of prison by releasing a virus that affected the prison system, but this attempt failed and Robin lost her sanity. She goes after her father, Spider-Man, armed with her version of the Green Goblin's pumpkin bombs, known as Retcon Bomb, which erased her boyfriend from existence. Assuming the mantle of Hobgoblin, Robin traveled back in time to the present year and attacked the contemporary Spider-Man, causing a time paradox by bringing another Uncle Ben of a different reality to the current reality. During another fight with Spider-Man, Robin throws another retcon bomb towards her father, but Spider-Man manages to catch it using his web. He throws it back at her, unknowingly erasing her from existence. What makes Hobgoblin so powerful? Hobgoblin, the mischievous goblin with an obsession for pumpkins, is a formidable adversary for any superhero. Not only does he have a vast array of weaponry and gadgets at his disposal, but he also possesses superhuman abilities that makes him a force to be reckoned with. Roderick Kingsley, the first Hobgoblin, gained his superhuman strength, which is close to Spider-Man's level and above the level of Norman Osborn, after ingesting his version of the Green Goblin formula. Along with his enhanced strength, he has also been gifted with superhuman reflexes, speed, stamina, and intelligence. These abilities make him a worthy adversary for any superhero, and his cunning persona only adds to his formidable nature. Phil Urich, who later took on the mantle of Hobgoblin, wears an orange costume with wings on the back that allow him to fly without the use of the Goblin glider. He still retains his lunatic laugh and possesses superhuman strength, speed, durability, stamina, reflexes and senses, as well as an enhanced intellect. He uses the traditional pumpkin bombs all Green Goblins and Hobgoblins before him used, but he also shows he has a new flaming sword. The Hobgoblin's gear is fairly impressive, featuring a bullet-resistant mail armor with an overlapping tunic, cape and cowl, but that's not all. The Hobgoblin also has a variety of devices that pack a punch and can cause serious damage. The Goblin glider is a particularly cool addition, serving as a personal transportation device that can go up to 90 miles per hour and carry up to 400 pounds. And let us not forget the jack-o'-lanterns, which are flammable and force-based, along with smoke and gas-emitting bombs, razor-edged throwing blades in the shape of a bat, someone's a fan of Batman, and gloves that can emit high amounts of electricity. The Hobgoblin keeps all these weapons in a shoulder bag for convenience and quick access. Hobgoblin's powers and abilities make him a formidable adversary for any superhero, but it's his cunning and mischievous personality that make him truly unforgettable. Whether he is causing chaos with his explosive pumpkin bombs or using his superhuman strength to go toe-to-toe with Spider-Man, Hobgoblin is a villain who will always keep us on our toes.
I love
Hobgoblin's appearances in other media. The Hobgoblin has made various appearances in different media, and that includes television, film, video games, merchandise, and other miscellaneous media. In the cancelled series The Spectacular Spider-Man, the Hobgoblin was supposed to appear, but instead, a different Roderick King makes an appearance. In Spider-Man 2017, an amalgamated version of the Hobgoblin makes an appearance who is primarily Harry Osborn. The mantle of Hobgoblin is also taken up by Norman Osborn when he attempts to take out Spider-Man. The Hobgoblin has also made appearances in various video games, such as The Amazing Spider-Man, The Amazing Spider-Man 2, Spider-Man and Captain America in Doctor Doom's Revenge, Spider-Man the video game, Spider-Man vs. Kingpin, and Spider-Man Return of the Sinister Six as well. In addition to video games, the Hobgoblin has been featured in merchandise such as action figures and Lego sets. Marvellous verdict. Well, after delving into the world of the Hobgoblin, one thing is abundantly clear. This goblin is not to be underestimated. From his cunning tactics to his arsenal of pumpkin bombs, he's a force to be reckoned with. And let's face it, who doesn't love a good pumpkin-themed weapon? But beyond the explosions and the spandex, there's a kind of depth to Hobgoblin's character that makes him stand out. Whether he's a villain stirring up trouble or an anti-hero fighting for his own cause, he's complex and a compelling figure within the Marvel universe. So let's raise a glass, or a pumpkin, to Hobgoblin. A goblin who may be mischievous, but has always kept us on our toes. Who knows what wild antics he'll get up to next, but one thing is for sure, it will be a blast. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't done so already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks for watching, everyone.